What's up, everybody? So we're going out in the shop right now, and we're gonna work on, knife today. The one that we're gonna be working on is that one that I mustard etched. So it is gonna be this one right here. It is time to go ahead, get these handles shaped, and I don't know exactly how I'm gonna contour them. That's just gonna be something that I figure out as we go through it, and I put it in my hand, see how I like it, with being able to pinch and be able to chop and do all that stuff. It's just purely going to be me just shaping it and seeing what feels good in the hand. So that's what we're working on today. We're going to end up having a video that we do with the sharpening and all that as well, because we're going to be sharpening it, slicing with it, and doing all kinds of fun stuff with that. But today's video is working on these handle scales and getting them shaped, getting everything put together how we want it. So that's what we're going to work on. So let's jump into it. So we need to go ahead and cut off these pins, and I can just grind these down with the 2x72, but it's way faster to go ahead and just use the quarter band saw to cut them off. You just want to be careful so that you're not getting too close to the scales and putting big indentions from the saw blade in the scales, because you'll have to grind that out later. And then every single time I start with my scales, I always get everything squared up. So I'll go ahead and I'll get the scales to where they're even with the whole tang, and then we'll start shaping from there. And I do this because you always want to start from a good, starting point. And this helps make everything even as you start rounding the handle scales. Now we're going to start rounding them with the top wheel on my 2x72. And what I'll do is I'll just slowly start contouring and rounding and doing things like that. And I will be putting it in my hand over and over and over again as I'm doing this, because with this particular set of handle scales, I am wanting to do that Coke bottle shape and contour it that way, but these aren't very thick handle scales, so you have to do everything in small increments to make sure that it fits right in the hand and that it's contoured with reason. Because you can contour something and make it look really cool, but if it doesn't actually fit in your hand right, all you did was make something that looked real pretty but was not useful. So you got to put it in your hand over and over and over again as you're doing this to make sure that everything that you're doing makes sense. Now, I could have taken and really rounded the scales out, but I wanted it to have kind of an EDC feel, so good comfort for pretty much everything that you're going to do. And I wanted to also have a nice chef knife type feel to it. So that's what we've kind of worked on with this, making sure that we round it just enough, make sure that we taper it where it needs to be tapered. Like right now, I'm making sure and I'm tapering the very front of the handle scales where you're going to be pinching it kind of like a chef's knife. That's what I'm doing right here. I'm just doing a little bit of finish work on it. It wasn't as thin as I wanted it to be, so I just kind of thinned it out just a little bit right there. And for the rough shape, I feel like this is very comfortable. Now we're going to take it over to the oscillating spindle sander, and we're going to do some fine work on it. So basically what I'm using here is an 80 grit drum. You don't have to use a really low grit or high grit drum on these. 80 grit seems to do pretty much everything I want it to do with both smoothing the metal and being able to work the wood real well without getting too gummed up with the wood. But what we're going to do here is we're just going to get that finger choil nice and smooth. Again, before we start shaping it, we want to get it smooth and even, and then we'll start focusing on rounding over and creating a real good feeling finger choil. And now that we got that where we want it, we're going to start rounding over the finger choil. And with this, you got to be kind of careful because, again, we've got that front tapered to where you can have a nice pinch area, but I do want it to be comfortable on your index finger, so I am rounding it. But we were kind of rounding that area into something that's already narrowed, and you don't want to make it so thin that whenever you go to grab it like a regular knife, it feels uncomfortable on your index finger. The whole point is to have the most well-rounded knife possible when it comes to EDC, a camp knife, and a chef's knife. So that's what we're trying to fine-tune right here. And the nice thing about these micarta pins is that you don't have to worry about doming them, which is where you will sand the wood on either side of the pin or around the pin, and the pin will stick out a little bit. These are just as soft as the wood, so you don't have to worry about that. It shapes real well. Now we're going to go ahead and take an 80 grit larger drum and start contouring and getting that Coke bottle shape on the larger portion of the handle. And this is just going gradual with it, not putting a ton of pressure, and just slowly getting it to the shape that we want, and putting it in our hand often to make sure that we're not making it too thin. And once you feel that it's the way that you want it to be shaped, then go ahead and go to the next step, which is going to be, of course, hand sanding. And with this, I start with 320 and work my way up to 800 grit. I want it to have a nice smooth finish when it's all said and done, but we just go through and do a ton of hand sanding. This is the one part where I actually cut out some of the work because it's pretty much the same thing the whole entire time. You just go back and forth in a sanding motion a lot. And I will tell you, I do something a little bit different than what I've seen other knife makers do. I do not sand perpendicular to the steel. I sand parallel pretty much the entire time. It's just a personal preference. I'll see a lot of people take and rip down a strip of belt or something like that, and then they'll start sanding across it and dragging it perpendicular to the blade and drag it across, and then they have to go back and sand those lines out of there. Me, I would just prefer to go parallel with the blade the entire time, so my sanding lines are pretty much even the whole entire time and I don't create work in the future. I would rather make it as easy as possible and as quick as possible, because this is already a very painstaking process. So what I will tell you is that make sure you're focusing on the whole entire handle when you're sanding. You want to have a really good finish on it so that when you start buffing, you don't have random scratches in the wood. And especially with something like this where it is wood and resin, you just want to take the time and get all of the sanding scratches out that you can, because it is two different types of materials and you are going to have to buff those. But I really like how this is turning out and I can't wait to see it polished. So we're going to use the medium buffing wheel on this with green compound, and it puts in work. It really does a really good job at getting this to the finish that I'm wanting it, and I cannot wait to show y'all this. Y'all are going to absolutely love it. Y'all can see how it's already turning into a beautiful handle just from what you're seeing right now. But once you see it in the outro, I think y'all are going to really like it, and I think y'all are going to feel that this was the right handle scale material for this particular knife. So I'll go ahead and talk to y'all about that in the outro. Alright guys, let's go ahead and wrap up today's vlog. Now, check this out. That is just absolutely beautiful. And the camera doesn't really do it justice. There are a ton of pearlescence in the resin in this. And of course, this wood is gorgeous too. So you have this lighter color wood and then the darker color wood that runs through there. You can see where that light kind of peeks through right here, and it does go all the way across to this side. The same thing back here where it comes all the way across. Love the way that turned out. You can kind of see the pearlescence right through here and right here. I mean, it just looks absolutely awesome. And of course, with the contouring, we did do, it's not exactly like a full-blown Coke bottle shape. It does come slim here in the center or in the front, and then kind of gets wide here, and then slim here, and then a little bit wider here, just for the contouring for like the EDC style camp knife shape that you would have with this handle this way. And then it does pinch right here so that you can hold it like this, like you would for a chef's knife. So we kind of went through and just did a bunch of different profiling to make sure we could utilize it every way that we would want to. It's gonna be pretty cool. I cannot wait to use this to actually cut things. So the next video is gonna be us sharpening this, slicing things with it, cutting things with it. But I did want to take a second and talk about something. I just want to thank Corey Scott for sending me the scales to be able to do this stuff with. You know, he sent me the scales that are on this, plus all the scales that are right here, and we are going to be doing a bunch of different builds with those scales, and it just is awesome that someone would send me stuff like that to be able to utilize, and I want to use this moment to say something. So if you've got something that you want me to use, so let's say you make scales, or you do different types of steel, or you make different things that I would use in the shop, you know, send me an email and let me know. I've got my P.O. box in the description below. you feel free to send me things there. But I would say before you send it, send me an email so that I can at least get in contact with you, and we can kind of figure out what I would do with the things that you sent me. And I'm excited about being able to do those types of things. You know, like whenever Corey Scott gets his Etsy page or his preferred way to sell his scales up and running, I'm going to start linking that in the description below so that people can click on those and go to where he sells his stuff. You know, it's not going to be an affiliate link. I'm not going to get a kickback from that. It's just purely going to be me helping him out. That's the goal with this. You know, I'm not looking for a ton of affiliate links or anything like that. All I'm looking for is to be able to help promote the people that help the channel out. And he's one of the guys that definitely does that. So thank you, Corey, for doing that. Of course, he sent me the scales and the 1/4 inch 80 CRV2 that we're going to be making the big chopper out of. But guys, again, if y'all have something y'all want me to try and use in the channel, feel free to send it to the P.O. box in the description below, and definitely send me an email with your information and you know, maybe links to your website and stuff like that so that I can put those in the description and people can click on those and go check them out. But guys, that's pretty much the end of this one. Now, if y'all would, give this video a thumbs up, share this video or one of my other videos, and guys, bottom corner, hit that subscribe button right there so you get notified for the stuff that we have coming up, like sharpening this and doing different things like that. Thank y'all for coming by. Thank y'all for spending your time with me. Y'all have an amazing day. Y'all stay safe out there. I'll catch y'all next time.